I've met people with no money but an incredible future. And I've met people with millions and no hope left in their eyes. Poverty isn't about being broke. It's about being broken. Broken in vision, broken in belief. The moment you fix your thinking, your circumstances begin to obey. The secret of becoming rich is not about the cash in your hand, but the courage in your heart. You can't have a millionaire's life with a minimum wage mindset. The poor think of survival. The rich think of creation. The poor see a bill. The rich see a business. The poor see time as something to kill. The rich see it as something to invest. Wealth is not the result of luck, it's the result of philosophy. When I was a young man working as a clerk, I had nothing. No money, no car, and very few prospects. I remember sitting in a small, cold apartment thinking, this can't be the rest of my life. I was broke, but more than that, I was afraid. Not afraid of being poor, but afraid of staying poor. That's when I learned one of life's greatest lessons. Poverty is a temporary condition, but a poor mindset can last forever. You see, being broke is simply a circumstance. It's where you are right now. But being poor, that's a philosophy, a belief system, a decision about who you think you are and what you think you're worth. Most people stay broke because they begin to identify with it. They wear it like a label. I'm poor. I'm unlucky. I'll never make it. And once your words define you, your future begins to shrink to the size of your excuses. But wealth, real wealth, doesn't begin in the wallet. It begins in the mind. The rich aren't born with more money. They're born with a belief that they can create it. The poor wait for opportunity to knock. The rich build the door and invite it in. I remember meeting a man who told me, I can't afford to think big right now. I said, friend, you can't afford not to. Because until you change how you think, even if someone handed you $1 million, it wouldn't make you rich. It would only make you a temporarily broke person with money. You'd spend it, waste it, or lose it, because your mind wouldn't know how to keep it. The truth is, the size of your income will rarely exceed the size of your thinking. The starting point of wealth is not a paycheck. It's a picture in your mind of who you can become. That picture, that vision, gives you direction. When you believe you're capable of more, you begin to act differently, walk differently, and make decisions that align with your potential. You stop waiting for rescue and start taking responsibility. You stop blaming circumstances and start building capacity. When I was broke, I started talking differently to myself. I stopped saying I'm poor and started saying I'm preparing. That one shift changed my entire attitude. Every small act, reading a book, learning a new skill, meeting someone ambitious, felt like an investment into the person I was becoming. You can't always control what you have, but you can always control who you are becoming. So write down affirmations that describe your future self. I am capable. I am resourceful. I am becoming wealthy. Say them every day until your mind starts to believe them. Eliminate negative self-talk, because your words are seeds and your future is the harvest. Surround yourself with people who speak possibilities, not problems. When you walk with the wise, you begin to think like the wise. Remember, poverty is not your destiny, it's only your starting point. You might be broke right now, but you're not broken. Your wallet may be empty, but your imagination is full. And that, my friends, is where wealth begins, not in what you have, but in who you decide to become. I often hear people say, I'll start when I have more money, or I'll begin once things get better. But I learned long ago that if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll wait forever. The truth is, no one ever starts rich. The rich simply start with what they have, not with what they lack. They don't focus on missing resources, they focus on resourcefulness. You see, it's not the size of your bank account that determines your future. It's the size of your imagination. The poor wait for opportunity. The rich create it out of what's already in their hands. When I first began my journey, I didn't have capital, connections, or credentials. What I did have was time and a burning desire to change my life. I used that time to read, to learn, to attend seminars I could barely afford, and to listen to people who had done what I wanted to do. I realized something powerful. I didn't need to have everything to begin. I just needed to begin with something. That small seed of effort, planted daily, began to grow into opportunities I couldn't even imagine when I started. Most people underestimate what they already have. You may not have money, but you have time, 24 hours a day, just like everyone else. You may not have a business, but you have skills. Maybe you can write, speak, sell, or fix something. You may not have education, but you have curiosity. The willingness to learn can take you further than any degree. The rich take inventory of their gifts and put them to work. They don't wait for a windfall, they start with a seed. I remember a young man who told me, "I have nothing to invest." I said, "You have your evenings, don't you?" He said, "Yes." "Then you have something," I told him. "Time is the currency of the poor. If you invest it wisely, it can turn into wealth." Spend 1 hour a day learning a skill, 1 hour serving someone who knows more than you, and 1 hour building something of your own. In a year, your life will look completely different. Most people waste their evenings. The successful use them to create their future. The secret is to stop saying, "I can't," and start asking, "How can I?" That small change in language opens the mind to solutions. Maybe you can't buy inventory for a business, but you can offer your time to someone who already has one. Maybe you can't invest in real estate yet, but you can learn about it for free. Maybe you can't hire help, but you can trade your skills. The principle is simple. Start where you are, with what you have, and grow from there. I began selling products door to door, not because it was glamorous, but because it was something I could do. It taught me sales, communication, and discipline, skills that became the foundation of everything I built later. Every humble start carries hidden lessons that prepare you for abundance. So, make a list of 3 things you can do today that cost nothing but can create value. Offer your service, trade your skills, volunteer to learn, anything that builds your ability to produce, and use every idle hour as a chance to grow, because wasted time is the most expensive thing the poor spend. You may not have money right now, that's fine. Start with effort, start with energy, start with creativity. The rich are not rich because they had more, they're rich because they did more with less. Wealth doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who start. When I started out, I wanted money more than anything. I thought if I could just make enough, all my problems would disappear. But life has a funny way of teaching you. It gives you the lesson before it gives you the prize. I learned early that wealth doesn't begin with money, it begins with wisdom. The broke go hunting for dollars, the wealthy go hunting for understanding. Because here's the truth, if you gave a man $1 million and took away his knowledge, he'd lose it in a year. But if you took away all his money and left him with knowledge, he'd earn it back in no time. The reason some people stay broke isn't because they lack opportunity, it's because they skip the classroom of life. They want the harvest without planting the seed, but life doesn't work that way. Before you can earn greatly, you must learn deeply. You see, wealth flows to the informed. When you understand how money moves, how people think, how value is created, you become a magnet for opportunity. That's why the most successful people I've ever met are also the most committed students. When I was young, my mentor once told me, "Don't wish for more money, wish for more wisdom." At first, that didn't sound very exciting. I wanted quick results. But as I began to learn about business, about people, about myself, everything began to change. I started to see opportunities where others saw problems. I began to think differently, act differently, and eventually, I earned differently. Knowledge turned my efforts into results. If you have nothing right now, that's not a disadvantage. It's a signal that it's time to learn. Learn how to sell, because sales will feed you for life. Learn how to communicate, because persuasion builds influence. Learn how to manage money, because even a small income can become a fortune in the hands of someone disciplined. Every skill you develop becomes a piece of armor that protects you from poverty. The poor fear losing money. The rich fear losing growth. I used to dedicate 30 minutes a day to reading, that's it. But 30 minutes every day adds up. In 1 year, that's over 180 hours of self-education. In 3 years, you could have a master's degree in life. You don't need a classroom. Your mentors can be in books, in audios, or even in people you observe. The point is, make learning your job until it pays you back. Because learning always pays. Sometimes not immediately, but always eventually. And when you start applying what you learn, magic happens. You'll begin to attract better opportunities. You'll speak with more confidence, decide with more clarity, and act with more precision. Learning sharpens your mind so that when chance comes, you're ready for it. The fool waits for luck, the wise prepare for it. I remember the first time I made real money, not from luck, but from applying something I had studied months earlier. It was then I realized the mind is the real gold mine. Once you've trained it, you can dig out riches from any circumstance. So if you're starting from zero, start with your mind. Read 30 minutes a day. Study wealth, success, human behavior. Learn a skill that creates value. Let knowledge be your investment when you can't afford anything else. Because once you learn how wealth works, you'll never be poor again. Not in any economy, not in any country, not in any lifetime. When I was a young man working at a regular job, I used to think that more hours meant more money. I believed the harder I worked, the richer I would become. But after a while, I noticed something strange. There were people working twice as hard as me, yet earning half as much. And there were others who seemed to glide through the day with calm confidence, making 10 times what I did. That's when I learned one of life's greatest financial truths. You don't get paid for time, you get paid for value. The marketplace doesn't care how long you've been at it, it cares what you bring to the table. Effort is admirable, but results are rewarded. You can work 8 hours sweeping a floor or 8 hours building a business plan. The time is the same, but the value isn't. So, the question isn't how much time you spend, it's how much value you create in that time. Now, this realization changed everything for me. Instead of asking, how can I make more money? I started asking, how can I make myself more valuable? Because here's the truth. Money is simply a reflection of the value you deliver to others. If you want to earn more, serve more. If you want to serve more, become more. It's a progression that never fails. When I began to study value, I found that it had layers. There's skill value, how well you can do something. There's attitude value, how well you show up. And there's relational value, how well you connect and collaborate. Every one of these can be improved, but only if you remain a student. See, most people stop learning after school. They stop growing after they get a job, and that's why their income stops growing too. They're always in demand. If you're broke right now, don't let that discourage you. It's not a permanent label, it's just a starting point. Begin by increasing your usefulness. Learn something new every week. Study your craft until you become excellent at it. Excellence is rare, and rarity always pays a premium. Seek feedback, not for validation, but for growth. The richest people I've met are obsessed with improvement. They know that one small shift in how they serve can multiply their results. And most importantly, learn to solve problems. Money flows where solutions live. The bigger the problem you solve, the bigger the paycheck you earn. When you make life easier for others, whether through a service, a skill, or a system, wealth naturally finds you. The secret is simple. People don't pay for effort, they pay for relief, for clarity, for results. When I understood this, I stopped chasing money and started chasing mastery, because once you master something valuable, money has no choice but to follow. And soon, you'll notice something remarkable. Your time becomes worth more. Your confidence grows. And opportunities begin to seek you instead of the other way around. So, decide today to become a student of value, not just of money. Learn, refine, and serve with excellence. The more valuable you become, the less you'll have to chase wealth, because value, once developed, attracts prosperity like a magnet. When I was starting out, I used to think that if I could just find a way to make more money, life would get better. But then I learned something that turned my entire philosophy upside down. Money doesn't come because you need it. It comes because you serve. Wealth doesn't chase greed. It chases service. The moment you stop asking, how can I get more, and start asking, how can I give more, everything changes. Because here's the truth. When you help enough people get what they want, you'll have everything you want and more. Now, most people don't like to hear that. They think service is something you do after you're successful. But it's the other way around. Service is how you become successful. The marketplace rewards those who bring value, not those who demand it. The farmer doesn't get angry at the soil for not giving crops before he plants. He understands that service, sowing, watering, nurturing always comes first. That's the law of the universe. Give first, and you'll always receive later. When I worked as a young distributor years ago, I learned to stop trying to sell and start trying to help. I asked people questions. I listened to their challenges. I learned what kept them up at night. And when I genuinely tried to serve their needs, the business took care of itself. People can feel when you're working for a commission versus when you're working for their good. When you lead with service, trust is built. And trust is the foundation of all wealth, financial or otherwise. So if you want to grow richer, start by being more useful. Ask yourself every morning, who can I help today? Whose problem can I solve? It could be at work, going the extra mile for a customer, offering a solution before being asked, or simply showing up with excellence when others settle for average. It could be in your community, giving time, sharing knowledge, mentoring someone who's just beginning. Every act of service plants a seed, and those seeds always find their way back to you multiplied. Sometimes the return doesn't come in money right away. It might come in experience, reputation, or opportunity. But those are all currencies of wealth. The world is constantly watching for those who give more than they take, because when people know they can depend on you, doors open. I've met people who went from being broke to building empires because they made themselves indispensable through service. They became the kind of people others couldn't live without. And once that happens, wealth is inevitable. So wherever you are, whether you're working a small job, running a business, or still figuring it out, make service your foundation. Ask your employer, how can I serve better? Ask your customers, what would make this experience better for you? Ask yourself, what value can I add today that I didn't add yesterday? Those questions will do more for your bank account than any get-rich-quick plan ever could. Remember, the world doesn't pay you for your needs, it pays you for your contribution. The more you serve, the more you're worth. The secret is timeless. Serve first, and money will follow you like a shadow. Because when your purpose becomes helping others win, success will have no choice but to find its way back to your doorstep. When I started with nothing, I quickly realized something powerful. I didn't need money to begin, I needed people. You see, when you have no capital, your connections become your currency. One good relationship can open doors that 10 years of hard work never could. The people you associate with determine not just what you know, but how high you'll go. Because wealth doesn't grow in isolation, it grows through association. The poor often guard their loneliness, while the rich guard their relationships. And that's the first great shift you must make, understanding that your network is your net worth. When I was young, I didn't have wealth or status, but I had curiosity and a willingness to learn. So, I started attending gatherings, seminars, and events I could barely afford, just to be in the room with those who thought differently. I remember once spending my last few dollars to attend a meeting because I knew that ideas were worth more than meals. And sure enough, in one of those rooms, I met a man who changed the trajectory of my life, not by giving me money, but by giving me mentorship. One conversation, one introduction, one opportunity. That's all it takes to shift your entire path. But those things don't come to those who hide in the shadows. They come to those who show up, eager to learn and willing to give. Most people make the mistake of looking for what they can get out of a relationship. The wealthy look for how they can add value first. It's a simple but profound difference. When you approach people with genuine interest, curiosity, and service, you stand out in a world full of takers. Everyone wants a helping hand, but very few offer one. So instead of asking, what can this person do for me? Try asking, how can I make myself useful to them? Maybe you can offer your time, your effort, or your unique perspective. Sometimes, the best way to earn access is to serve your way into the room. And let me tell you, once you're in the right room, everything changes. The conversations are different. The standards are higher. The energy is contagious. You can't spend time with winners and keep the mindset of a victim. The people you surround yourself with are like mirrors. They reflect who you are becoming. Spend time with dreamers, and you'll start dreaming bigger. Spend time with builders, and you'll start building better. But spend time with complainers, and soon you'll be fluent in excuses. The great philosopher once said, iron sharpens iron. And that's the essence of wealth building, being around those who challenge your comfort and stretch your capacity. Relationships are not luck. They are cultivated with care. Follow up after you meet someone. Send a thank you note. Remember small details. Be the kind of person people want to remember, not forget. Because opportunities rarely come from strangers. They come from relationships nurtured over time. So if you feel like you have nothing right now, remember, you already have something priceless. Your ability to connect. Use it. Attend free events, business meetups, or online communities. Introduce yourself boldly. Offer help sincerely. Find mentors and exchange your time or effort for their wisdom. You'll be surprised how quickly your network begins to elevate your net worth. Because in the end, money may get you through the door, but relationships keep you in the room. People are the bridges to every great opportunity in life. And the sooner you learn to build those bridges, the sooner you'll walk across to the wealth you've been dreaming of. When you begin with nothing, the idea of one source of income can feel like a lifeline, but it is also a trap. I learned early in my life that depending on a single paycheck is like walking a tightrope without a net. One misstep, one unexpected expense, and everything can unravel. Wealth isn't built by relying on a single effort. It's built by creating multiple streams of effort and eventually multiple streams of income. It's the person who works creatively, persistently, and diversely who turns scarcity into abundance. I remember when I first started my journey. I had a small job, barely enough to cover rent. But I didn't just sit back and hope for a miracle. I began tutoring friends, writing small newsletters, and taking on odd tasks in my spare hours. Each effort was small, seemingly insignificant, but cumulatively, they taught me discipline, expanded my skills, and built connections that would later transform into larger opportunities. The lesson is simple. The rich don't wait for the perfect opportunity. They create them through consistent, diversified effort. The philosophy is deeper than just working harder. It's about working smart across multiple avenues. A single effort might sustain you, but multiple efforts create growth. Diversifying your skills allows you to solve different problems, serve different markets, and create resilience in the face of setbacks. The marketplace always rewards those who can provide multiple types of value. When one path slows down, another can carry you forward, keeping your momentum alive. In practical terms, this starts with assessing what you can do beyond your primary work. Do you have hobbies that could earn income? Are there skills you can teach, freelance, or turn into a side project? Begin with small, manageable steps. Spend evenings or weekends building, experimenting, and learning. These efforts compound over time, not unlike money in the bank. Even a few hours a week dedicated to building new skills, creating products, or helping others in unique ways can grow into streams that eventually surpass your primary income. Remember, effort is the seed, and income is the fruit. Focus first on planting multiple seeds through your work, learning, and service. Track what generates results, double down on what works, and let the process teach you how to maximize your energy and creativity. Eventually, those streams of effort turn into streams of income, each feeding the other, compounding over time into something far greater than you imagined when you started. Your evenings, your weekends, your willingness to go beyond the ordinary, this is the soil from which wealth grows. One source will never make you rich, but multiple streams of effort, applied consistently, will. Begin now, and let every small action today multiply into the freedom and prosperity of tomorrow. When you start from zero, it's easy to focus on what you don't have, the empty bank account, the opportunities you haven't yet reached, the comfort that seems out of grasp. But I've learned through experience that gratitude is the richest soil from which prosperity grows. It turns nothing into something. The moment you begin to appreciate what you already have, your mind stops obsessing over lack and starts seeing opportunity, possibility, and solutions. As the great philosopher Epictetus once said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Gratitude shifts your mental state, and your state determines your actions. When you are grateful, you act with optimism, creativity, and perseverance. I remember a time when my income was minimal, and every penny seemed stretched to the breaking point. Yet I took the time each day to reflect on what I could do, who had helped me, and what small successes I could celebrate. That simple practice changed my perspective. Instead of feeling trapped, I felt empowered. The very act of being thankful generated energy, ideas, and courage to take the next step. The strategy is simple but profound. Practice gratitude deliberately and consistently. Start each day by writing down 3 things you are thankful for, even if they are small. A supportive friend, a lesson learned, or a skill you've begun to master. Thank the people who contribute to your life, no matter how minor the act might seem. Appreciation multiplies connections. It deepens relationships and opens doors that complaining and resentment would keep shut. Gratitude is not passive. It is a magnet that attracts opportunity and aligns your mind with possibility. In practical terms, replace complaints with appreciation. Instead of focusing on what's missing, ask yourself, what can I make better with what I already have? This simple shift moves your energy from scarcity to creation. People notice your mindset, and opportunities follow those who see potential rather than problems. When I began serving others with a grateful heart, doors opened that no amount of skill or money alone could have unlocked. Gratitude also cultivates resilience. Every obstacle becomes a lesson, every delay a chance to improve, every no a step closer to the right yes. By acknowledging what you do have, you build confidence and clarity is the precursor to action. The zero you start from is transformed into a launching pad because the mind that is grateful sees abundance even in absence. So begin today. Write down your blessings. Thank those who lift you. Shift your gaze from lack to opportunity. Gratitude turns poverty into potential, and the person who practices it consistently will find that even from nothing, wealth and freedom can be built. When you have nothing, it's tempting to think small. The mind whispers, start modestly, play it safe, don't reach too high. But the truth is, every great fortune, every empire, every life of abundance began as a single thought. Thinking big doesn't require money. It requires courage, imagination, and the willingness to see what others cannot yet see. As the philosopher Seneca said, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. To build wealth from nothing, you must first dare to think beyond your present circumstance. Starting small is practical, but thinking big is essential. When you plant a seed, it begins tiny, but it grows toward the sun, stretching its roots deep into the earth. Your resources may be minimal, but your vision can be immense. I remember beginning with very little, a modest income, no assets, no network, but I had a vision of independence, of creating value, and of living on my own terms. That vision guided my decisions, gave me focus, and helped me recognize opportunities that others overlooked. Without that belief in something larger than myself, my small beginnings would have remained just that, small. The strategy is to use your limitations as the canvas for your vision. The scarcity you face is not a punishment, it is a training ground. It forces creativity, resourcefulness, and persistence. Big thinking gives direction to small actions. Every small step, when aligned with a bold vision, compounds into extraordinary results. Begin by setting a 10-year vision for your life. Don't limit yourself based on current circumstances. Imagine the person you want to be, the freedom you want to experience, and the impact you wish to have. Write it down, speak it aloud, see it clearly in your mind every day. Practical steps are crucial. Break your long-term vision into actionable short-term goals. If your 10-year goal is financial independence, set monthly goals for saving, learning, and networking. Celebrate small wins along the way. They are the building blocks of your confidence. Visualize your future daily. See yourself achieving what now seems impossible until belief becomes conviction. This mental rehearsal trains your mind to recognize opportunities and act decisively when they appear. Big thinking also protects against discouragement. When you encounter setbacks, your vision reminds you why you began and where you are heading. A small obstacle no longer feels catastrophic. It becomes a lesson, a step in the journey. Thinking big stretches your spirit, fuels persistence, and attracts others who share your vision. Start today. Dare to imagine a life larger than your circumstances. Act on what you can do now, no matter how small. Let your vision guide every step, and watch as small beginnings grow into extraordinary outcomes. Excuses are the thieves of opportunity. Every excuse you make steals precious time, and time is the raw material from which wealth is built. When I began with almost nothing, I realized quickly that blaming circumstances, waiting for luck, or wishing for easier conditions would get me nowhere. The poor blame. They point to the economy, to their upbringing, or to missing opportunities. The rich build. They understand that life doesn't wait for permission and progress comes only through action. Every excuse left unchallenged is a moment wasted, and wasted moments compound into wasted years. Execution, not intention, is the engine of transformation. You may have ideas, plans, and visions, but until you act, they are nothing more than dreams. I've always said that the journey from nothing to something begins with a single, deliberate action. When I was starting out, I had no money, no connections, and very little confidence. But I had a plan and the courage to act. Every small task I executed, whether delivering a letter, attending a free seminar, or practicing a skill, brought me closer to my goals. Action breeds clarity. The more you do, the more you learn. Hesitation only obscures your path, but momentum illuminates it. The strategy is simple. Replace excuses with execution. Make doing your default mode. Don't wait for perfect conditions. They rarely exist. Perfection is born out of progress, not preparation. Progress generates feedback, insight, and improvement. You can plan endlessly, but unless you implement, nothing changes. Action builds competence, confidence, and credibility. It attracts opportunities that waiting never will. Practical steps are crucial. First, identify the excuses that have held you back. Write down the top 3 reasons you've told yourself you couldn't succeed, then immediately replace each with a corresponding action. If you say, "I don't have money to start," your action might be researching free methods, trading skills, or dedicating an hour daily to create value. Second, start your day by completing one task that directly moves you toward your dream. Small wins compound into larger victories. Finally, stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is a myth. Execution transforms uncertainty into results. Remember, the journey from nothing to wealth isn't built on ideas alone. It's built on repeated, purposeful action. Excuses are safe. Execution is growth. Today, make the choice to act, no matter how small, and let momentum carry you forward. Every step counts. Your job is often misunderstood. Many see it as a cage, a necessary evil to survive. But the truth is, your job can be your first investor, your initial capital source for the life you desire. It's not your enemy, it's your stepping stone. I've known people who resented their work, counting down hours, feeling trapped, yet those who succeed see every paycheck as seed money. Every rupee or dollar you earn can either vanish in momentary pleasures or be redirected to build freedom. The choice defines your trajectory. Wealth begins when your money starts working harder than you do. The strategy is to treat your job not as a final solution, but as a launch pad. Your income is not for indulgence alone. It's for investment, for learning, for creating leverage. A paycheck can fund freedom if you direct it intelligently. Many think wealth starts with fancy businesses or winning the lottery. I learned early that consistent action and wise allocation of earned income compound into opportunity. Your 9 to 5, when aligned with your vision, can become the engine of your 5 to 9 dream. Every hour you dedicate, every skill you master, every savings decision compounds into future independence. Practical steps make this real. First, commit a portion. 20% of your income is ideal directly into building assets or a small business. This percentage creates a habit of disciplined investing and prevents lifestyle inflation from consuming opportunity. Second, treat your job as a partner, not a prison. Learn, network, and refine skills that increase your value and income potential. Every responsibility, every task can be a lesson in business, sales, negotiation, or leadership. Third, invest in yourself and in tools that outlive your paycheck. Books, courses, software, equipment, anything that multiplies your efforts. Think of your paycheck as a seed. Without planting it in productive soil, it yields nothing. With careful planting, patience, and nurturing, it grows into a tree that provides long-term fruit. I remember starting with a small paycheck, yet I decided that each month a portion would go to education, books, and small investments. It didn't feel like much at the time, but those seeds grew, opening doors I couldn't have imagined. Your job, humble as it may be, can fund your independence if you honor it with discipline and strategy. The lesson is simple. Don't work for your paycheck alone. Let your paycheck work for you. Too many people believe life is about consumption. To buy, to spend, to experience fleeting pleasures. I've seen it over and over. Someone earns, they spend, they chase what looks good, only to feel emptier the next day. Consumption gives joy for a moment, but creation gives purpose for a lifetime. The rich understand this principle. They don't just consume, they create. They build businesses, products, ideas, and solutions. Wealth is the result of creating value that others are willing to exchange for their money. When you focus on creation, you stop being dependent on luck or salary and start controlling your own destiny. The strategy is straightforward, but it requires discipline. Shift your identity from consumer to producer. Examine every skill, every insight, every experience you have and ask, how can I turn this into something of value for others? Creation doesn't have to be monumental. It only has to be meaningful. Even small acts, a helpful blog post, a handcrafted item, or a digital service, create ripples that attract income, opportunity, and growth. Creation builds confidence, skills, and connections that consumption can never deliver. Practical steps make this actionable. First, commit to creating something useful every week. It could be content that educates, a craft that serves, or a small tool or process that makes life easier for someone. Consistency compounds into skill and reputation. Second, learn digital or creative tools that allow you to turn ideas into income, software, design, marketing, or online platforms. The modern world rewards those who can translate thought into product. Third, make it a habit to ask daily, what can I build today that someone would pay for tomorrow? This trains your mind to see opportunity everywhere. I remember when I started with almost nothing, the first thing I did was create small solutions for small problems. I didn't wait for perfect conditions. I learned as I went, refined as I progressed, and each creation brought more resources, more connections, and more confidence. Those first small acts of creation compounded into a foundation that eventually supported much larger endeavors. The lesson is clear. If you want lasting wealth, stop living as a consumer and start living as a creator. Every moment you create value is a moment you multiply your freedom. Consumption satisfies today. Creation builds tomorrow. Relationships are the unseen currency of life. I've often said that the right relationship can be more valuable than gold, and experience has proven it. Money can buy many things, but it cannot buy opportunity, guidance, or influence in the same way a mentor, a partner, or a trusted colleague can. Doors that cash cannot open are opened by people of principle, purpose, and progress. If you wish to grow, if you wish to build wealth from nothing, you must understand that who you spend your time with determines how far and fast you rise. The philosophy is simple. Your environment either multiplies or minimizes your potential. The wealthy don't merely accumulate assets. They accumulate people who inspire, challenge, and elevate them. Every association matters. Even the smallest interaction can change the trajectory of your life if you approach it with intention. This is why so many who start with little achieve greatness. They surround themselves with those who think big, act boldly, and refuse to settle for mediocrity. Strategy matters. You must be deliberate about the relationships you cultivate. Seek out mentors and guides who have walked the path before you. Offer them value, your time, effort, energy, in exchange for their wisdom and guidance. Build trust with those around you through honesty, reliability, and generosity. Make it a habit to leave every person better than you found them. Wealth is not merely dollars. It's influence, guidance, and respect. And these compound over time like any financial asset. Practical steps turn philosophy into action. First, identify mentors or role models in your industry or community and reach out to them with humility and purpose. Offer assistance in areas you can contribute to, in service, research, or support, because value attracts value. Second, focus on your daily interactions. Are you dependable? Are you honest and transparent? Are you generous with your time and attention? These qualities create relationships that endure. Third, make it a principle to always enhance someone else's life. Whether it's teaching, encouragement, or simple acts of integrity, these actions leave a lasting impression that pays dividends over a lifetime. I recall starting out with almost nothing, yet I had access to people far ahead of me in wisdom and experience. I approached each relationship with humility and a desire to serve, and those connections became bridges to opportunities, insights, and collaborations I could never have achieved alone. Remember, money is limited, but relationships have the potential to multiply endlessly. Invest in people who lift you, challenge you, and inspire you. Their guidance will open doors, their wisdom will shorten your learning curve, and their belief in you will become a cornerstone of your future success. True wealth grows not only in accounts, but in alliances. The richest individuals I've known begin their days by creating, not consuming. Philosophy tells us that the first act of every day should be an act of production. When you create, you put yourself in control. When you consume without thought, you become a slave to the world around you. I've seen countless people wake up and immediately scroll, watch, or listen, and by mid-morning their day is gone, their energy spent on other people's priorities rather than their own. Wealth begins when creation comes first and consumption comes second. Strategy is straightforward. Make output your priority. Begin each day with a task that adds value, whether it's writing, learning, planning, or producing something tangible. This act of creation sets the tone for your mindset, aligns your focus, and activates momentum. By producing first, you enter a state of control, ownership, and authority over your day. The world will still try to pull you into passive consumption, but if your creative habits are strong, you become impervious to distractions. Mornings become sacred, a time where your mind and effort compound into lasting results. The practical steps are simple but profound. First, do not touch social media, news, or entertainment until you complete your first meaningful task. Protect the morning hours for creation alone. Second, divide your day into segments. Morning for output, evening for reflection and learning. This structure ensures you maintain balance between producing value and feeding your mind intelligently. Third, always align your creation with purpose. Whether it's a skill you're honing, a business you're building, or content that educates, your output should generate long-term leverage. Even small acts of creation, a 15-minute journal, a short lesson, or a draft of a business idea, accumulate over time into significant wealth of skill, reputation, and opportunity. I remember my own beginnings when I had nothing but time and determination. I committed to producing something each morning, ideas, letters, lessons, before indulging in any entertainment or distraction. Over months, these small acts became compounding assets. They positioned me for opportunities I could never have predicted, teaching me that creation, no matter how small, is the real currency of progress. Remember, wealth is not a product of how much you consume, but how much you produce. Create before you consume, and you take control of your life, your time, and your future. The first action of every day can decide the outcome of your decade. Freedom is the ultimate return on investment. Philosophy teaches us that wealth is not measured by digits in a bank account, but by the liberty it provides. The freedom to choose your path, to give generously, to live life on your own terms. I've seen countless people chase money blindly, mistaking it for security or status, only to find that they are enslaved by their possessions, obligations, and lifestyle. Real wealth is not accumulation, it is liberation. When your money serves you, rather than the other way around, you gain the priceless ability to decide how to spend your days, where to go, and how to contribute. The strategy is clear. Design your financial life around independence rather than indulgence. Every decision, every investment, every dollar should work toward freeing your time and expanding your choices. Begin by imagining your ideal life. What does freedom feel like? Is it working on your own schedule, traveling, pursuing passion projects, or giving more generously? Use this vision as the blueprint for how you structure your income, expenses, and assets. Wealth becomes meaningful only when it liberates you, not when it merely impresses others. Practical steps make this tangible. First, define what freedom means to you in measurable terms. Quantify the months you want to live without relying on active work, the level of generosity you aim to sustain, or the hours you want to reclaim for family and growth. Clarity turns abstraction into action. Second, build income sources that operate independently of your direct effort, investments, businesses, royalties, or digital products that earn while you rest. Each passive stream becomes a building block of freedom, multiplying your options and securing your future. Third, consciously use money to create choices. Before spending on a luxury or convenience, ask, does this enhance my independence or merely satisfy my ego? Wealth that buys freedom compounds exponentially, whereas wealth spent on indulgence compounds only debt and dependence. I remember starting with almost nothing, and yet my focus on freedom rather than immediate comfort shaped every choice. I allocated every resource, time, energy, and money to create assets that would work for me, not merely to earn temporary pleasure. Over time, the ability to choose how to live became my most valuable return, far surpassing any bank balance or material possession.